Every once in a while, you get to key in on something that is inspiring, something that makes you want to learn more about the coin, the token, and you end up deep down the rabbit hole. The coin I'm going to talk to you about isn't even a coin at all, but it had the chance to be back in 1837. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the Feuchtwanger token, especially the 1-cent variety. Dr. Louis Feuchtwanger was a Bavarian pharmacist. He was steep in his understanding of chemistry and loved to collect things. He immigrated to the city of New York in 1829. He was a collector in his own right, and he amassed a lot of really cool items: gemstones, Indian artifacts, rare minerals, and even coins. And at his corner store, he proudly displayed many of his findings. And on occasion, he would offer these rarities up for sale. But the item that I'm going to talk about today started in 1829. Being a chemist and being intrigued with metallurgical arts, he wanted to utilize a German adaptation, a metal compound named German silver. German silver was made up of about 50 to 60% copper, 20 to 30% nickel, and 17 to 19% zinc. It actually contained no silver at all, but because of its properties and silver coloration, its confusing name tended to fool people into thinking it was real silver. The metal compound was so strong it was utilized in many German items, like flatware, belt buckles, and even the odd coinage from the 20s and 30s. He believed that this metal was a much cleaner option than the corrosive-prone copper coinage that the United States government utilized at the time. So he generated a few and lobbied the government to replace the large cents of the time. Now, he supplied Congress, each member, with a specimen of his handiwork. The 1-cent token featured an eagle grabbing a coiled snake on the front, and much like the large cents of the day, the 1 cent engulfed by a laurel wreath, and the Feuchtwanger composition around the outer edge was on the reverse. The primary reasoning for this, again, more durable coins, but he didn't care for copper. It tended to corrode. Plus, they were bigger. Back in those days, just like today, the U.S. Mint was, well, how much is it going to cost us? Their estimation was that it was going to exceed the current value. And even though his metal was less expensive, Robert M. Patterson, the mint director in 1838, declined the proposal. But not all was lost. Due to the financial panic of 1837, his token did get to see some action in the world of U.S. money, as he obtained permission from the United States Mint to utilize them and put them in circulation. The reason for this? We know it as the hard times era in the numismatic realm, but it was because of widespread concern that the Federal Reserve would collapse. Lasting 7 years, almost 1 million pieces of his token would be distributed from his corner pharmacy store. His tokens continue to have a great collectability today, and I was informed by a buddy of mine that he recently bought one, and it caused me to dig down this rabbit hole. So I'm going to provide you a lot of information as published by Kutzors. What this is going to do is it's going to help you identify the die pairing. All this information is his. I'm just utilizing his research to help you. I will, however, not give you information on how to grade this. Grading can be tricky for various reasons and differences in the coin. I'm going to leave that to the professionals. All right, let's get started. There's 14 known varieties. Many of the diagnostics for the dies are taken directly from his reference. Now let's look at them and see what we can find out. The instructions for the attribution are not overly complex, but they're best used with picture. If you want to see these, look in the description of this video and you'll find images, pictures, and all of the references I used to generate this video. All right, first, let's look at how you can tell the obverses apart. There's a couple things you want to look for on each one. 3 primary features. First, look and count the feathers. Are they touching the ground? How many of them are there? Second, let's look at the date. The listings have very detailed descriptions of what you should be looking for. Finally, looking at the snake. There's various items within the snake and the ground that the snake is resting on. So once you've looked at the obverses, now it's time to flip it over and check out the reverse of this token. There are 9 total reverses for this token. Variations range from spacing of the letters in one cent to the shape and the position of the berries on the laurel, weak strikes, and changes on the lettering on the outer rim. Once that's done, then we need to look at the die pairing to see how rare this particular token is, and you can utilize this chart. Now let's look at the instructions on attributing one of these cents. Now there's only 5 steps, but you're going to need to have an image or the token in hand in order to do this. So step 1, is there a curved line above the 8 and the 3 in the date? If there is, then it's a verse 5. Well, in looking at this, there's not a curved coin. I'm going to show you this is what they're talking about on the verse 5. So you can clearly see that that's not the one that they're talking about. So we would say no. And that means we need to go to step 2. Counting from right to left, starting at the eagle's legs, is the third tail feather clearly not touching the ground? If it is, it's the verse 3. And if it's not, we need to go to step 3. So looking at the image, 1, 2, 3, it is touching the ground. So we're going to go to step 3. Step 3, counting from right to left again, is the first tail feather touching the top of the snake? If it's yes, we go to 4. If not, we go to 5. Well, if we look at this one, it is touching the snake. So we're going to go to step 4. 4 has you look at the base of the 7. Is the date higher or equal than the base of the 3? If it's higher, it's a verse 1. If it's lower, it's a verse 2. Well, in this particular case, it's higher. So that's going to tell us that this one is obverse 1. And that's how we would identify the obverse on this particular token. Now, fortunately, because we have obverse 1, there's only one reverse. But if we were to look at obverse 3, there are 4 potential reverses that we would need to identify. We would look at the pairing or the reverse diagnostics. And this is how we would identify which one is there. With obverse 3, you can see that there's 4 potential items. It's going to ask you for each one of these. You're going to find out which of the items that it is. Once you find that, that's going to give you the pairing. Now, in order to identify how rare that is, you're going to take that pairing, 1A, 2A, 3B, 3C, 3D, 3E, 3G, and you'll look at the rarity index of the rarity scale. And this is how you would identify the die pairing on this particular token. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found this useful. If you have, do me a favor, subscribe and like. And if it's helped you identify your token or perhaps identify yours as a fake, then do me a favor, let me know in the comments below. YouTube is making a recommendation on this video, and I'm recommending this playlist. Think you might like these things, so do me a favor. If you like this video, go over and check these out. And you know what? I'll see you over there.